Hello, everyone. Welcome to Laser Focus. This is the deep dive pop culture podcast from Nerdist. I'm Kyle Anderson. Thank you for listening. Folks, I start every podcast by saying folks and then telling you something about my life, and that's why we're talking about it. And now is no different. Folks, it is the time of year where I try to watch all the horror movies, and I am not having a good time of it this time. I'm picking some bad movies. I'm trying to watch things out of my normal, and what I really realized I needed is what I find the most enjoyable about horror movies is that they are comforting to me in a weird way. So this week we're going to be talking about why, for some of us, and I know that's not everybody, the things, movies and literature and things like that that are scary or meant to terrify or whatever, actually I find incredibly comforting and makes me feel like warm and fuzzy in a weird way, which I know is not the norm, but it is for some people. And so I've invited somebody back to the show with whom I share this weird trait. You know her as somebody who talked with me about 90s movies for 4 hours a few months ago. She's also a writer and a critic and has written quite a bit for Nerdist.com. If you ever want to go back and read some of her stuff, please welcome back to the show, friend of the show, Lindsey Romain. Hello, Lindsey.
Hello, Kyle. Thank you for having me back. And this is, as we were discussing off mic, a topic I am so excited to get into because movies like horror movies are soothing to me too. And I do think, like you were saying, it maybe not the norm for like the average person on the street, but I do think like part of the horror like fandom genre is people who feel this way. So I think
Yeah.
it's will be an interesting topic to dig
Yeah.
into.
Like, and especially for the last, well, a long while. I go in bouts of things where I want to watch, different types of movies, but for the most part recently, like I haven't even gone to the movies to see like new stuff coming out because I'm just like, I should just stay home and watch all the horror movies that I still haven't watched. I have a
Mhm.
pile of Blu-rays that I either are rewatches or new to me watches, and it's just like I'm having such a hard time going through those. But that's like kind of all I ever want to do. And almost all the time when I'm looking for something to watch, like on streaming or whatever, I'm always like, what weird horror movie is? And I talked about this maybe a month or two ago with Maggie Mae Fish, but like I'm trying to find the most disturbing movies. That's like a newer
Right.
thing that I'm trying to do. But that to me is still kind of weirdly comforting.
Mhm.
Um
Yeah.
most I guess like just from a structuralist point of view, like how are they doing this? And even if it makes me feel kind of gross, which many of them do, I still kind of feel that's I don't know. I just feel
Yeah,
nice to be involved in that type of thing. So yeah.
totally. I think too, like part of the soothingness of it, because I'm the same way. But it is interesting as you were saying that, it made me realize like maybe we're not such freaks because the movies that have been really successful, like they're like horror movies are
Oh yeah,
have
they're having
never
a day.
been they're having a real like box office moment.
Yeah.
And I think when the real world gets scary, people do really like turn to horror because weirdly it feels like a release from some of like
Yeah.
the horrors of reality. But I think also but yeah, I think I completely agree with you. Sometimes even those like extremity type movies. I think we talked a little bit about French extremity on our last chat, and like I can also like gore can be comforting to me
Yeah.
too, just because it's so like it's not happening to my body, so there's like a weird like I don't know, and I think
Mhm.
that's probably a feeling we'll get into more like talking about this, but it's like it's a way of almost having like a cathartic release of like watching something bad and it makes you feel I don't know, there's, like, something in the brain that's like, "Well, my life's not that bad," you know?
Right.
Yeah,
At least I don't have
so
these werewolves to deal with or whatever.
yeah, yeah, exactly, and maybe that's, like, simplifying it, but,
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know, and I think yeah, there's so many things we can get into because there's a whole, like, element too of, like, why women find horror and,
Mm.
like, kinda true crime and stuff comforting because it's
Yeah.
so much of that horror is invited upon our like bodies and stuff just normally, and so seeing it kind of like played out in a more extreme version that's like, yeah, isn't this shit horrible, like there's something comforting in that too, weirdly.
Yeah, I mean if we're going to get real philosophical, which I think we should.
Yes, of
Uh
course.
humans have two drives, Eros and Thanatos, and if you don't
Mhm.
have the love drive, you have the death drive, or I guess the
Mhm.
sex drive is really what Eros is, but the libido. But then the opposite
Mhm.
of that is not the life force; it's the death force, and it's like we are drawn to these things, and that's why you know the uncanny valley exists. It started because seeing dead bodies was creepy to us. Like that's how it
Yeah.
began, and then making puppets and stuff like that. It kind of grew, but like there is revulsion, but also like a draw toward the repulsive,
Yeah.
which I
Exactly.
which does again, and there is like a safety to it in either a story about something that happened a long time ago, or these movies that are clearly fake. Um,
Right.
but still kind of like, I don't 100% buy that it's like I think we all just like to be scared. I don't know if that's
Yeah.
true, but there is
No.
something about it that I feel like, you know, we find enjoyable to kind of visit these horrible scenarios or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's curiosity really. Like if death is something that scares you,
Mhm.
and I think like most horror fans I know, like that's really true, right? It's like we're
Sure.
we're really afraid or curious, or there's like an existential connection to it of the concept of death, and horror is a way to like kind of touch that without dying yourself or whatever. There's like it's playing with like stepping right up to the line of looking death in the face or
Mm.
whatever, and like that's yeah, I think for a certain type of person, really, yeah, intriguing, I
Yeah.
guess.
So let's start by talking about when did you get into horror, and when at what point did you kind of decide you were a horror fan, and then subsequently, like what were the kind of things that, um, or when did it start becoming comforting to you? I guess.
Yeah, I would say I've been a horror fan from the beginning. Like my first love of movie this is a funny like twofer, but like my two favorite genres growing up were musicals and horror movies. Like I grew up on the MGM musicals, but also, my mom showed me those. My dad was the horror guy who kind of got me intrigued with that. Um the first but I will say like I was a kid who was scared of a lot, and I think that but maybe we talked about this on our last pod. I feel like I've talked about this with you before, but my fears as a kid were really abstract. I wasn't really afraid of like monsters and witches and ghosts. I was afraid of like car horns and ceiling fans, and like the things around me really scared
Mm,
me. I was afraid of like like my grandma had a weird old house, my great grandma. I was afraid of getting like lost in the house and being in
mm,
like some unfamiliar, like all of my fears were really like weird like that, which I don't know what that says about me, but I think like because I had this like fear of the world around me, horror was like a way of sort of um funneling that, right? And like and funneling it into stuff that was more supernatural and whatever. So there was like a catharsis in that. So I was really into horror stuff from a young age. And some of it started with like Adam's Family, Hocus
for
Pocus,
sure.
like that kind of stuff. But my first like true proper horror movie I saw was Poltergeist when I was 5 years old
Heavens.
because we were built different back then,
Yeah.
and that one scared the absolute shit out of me because I was way too young to be seeing it, and it's all about like childhood fears, but it just like sprung open the imagination in a way that like no other movie had until that
Mm,
point. Like it really made me feel like a spectrum of things, and I think as a young kid I wanted to like chase that. So, from there too, and I think you can probably relate to this, there's like a more, like, oh, I need to feel that more. Like I need more
yeah.
of that. And so that's where it started, and then I, lived with my grandparents for a while when I was a kid, and my grandmother would let me watch whatever I wanted to the disdain of the rest of my family, who was like, "You should not be showing her." I was, like, 7 and was like, "Grandma, can I rent, like, Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet?" And she's like, "Yeah, of course." So, like, I was seeing some shit that I shouldn't be, but she would especially, like, nurture the horror thing in me. So she would take me to our local library where all the horror movies were in the basement. Great place for horror movies at the library. And she would let me like pick out like 5 different ones. And so I would just go there, and I don't know how like, I think probably from what we talked about also last time, like Entertainment Weekly and magazines and stuff, I had an
Yeah.
awareness of like titles of movies. And so I would just go there and pick out titles that I had like heard of. Like I remember I picked like Carrie when I
Mm,
was probably like 8, and like I got really into like slashers around that age too. I loved like all the 90s Scream. I Know What You Did Last Summer, all of that stuff. So like it really kind of was just always there. And because I was so scared of stuff, um, that was part of it. But then, not to be too like personal, but I had a lot of bad stuff happen in my family and in my life. And suddenly I wasn't afraid of things anymore. Like I
sure.
wasn't afraid of the world in the same way. And so like weirdly, I don't know, I think my relationship with horror changed a little bit, and that's really where the catharsis came in. Like it was all
Mm.
curiosity until shit got bad in my real life, and then it was comfort because it's like to me, I think if you have like weird tendencies, a weird life, a weird whatever, like horror feels like a reflection of that in a way. And so I think there was like I would find myself relating to characters in horror movies more than any other ones, even if they were in extreme circumstances.
Well,
So
I mean, they are the characters who more than any other kind of genre have to deal with these,
big
extreme
things.
horrible circumstances.
Hmm.
And they either
And
come out the
there's
other side or don't.
totally, and there's also, I mean, this is maybe slightly more modern, but it's there in the earlier movies too. Is like there's trauma narratives, right? And like so
Right.
a lot of the people in these movies have dead moms, like I did, or like have bad parents or bad, just like things that they come equipped with, and the
Mhm.
movie's kind of them exploring that. So like there's a lot of yeah, there was a lot of movies like that that really I returned to and became cozy horror to me because they felt like they were um reflections maybe of some of the thoughts in my brain about things that happened to me.
It's I've always said, I mean, I'm sure maybe I mean, go back, folks, and listen to our episode about 1995 because I feel like we talked about a lot
Yeah.
of this now that you're bringing it up again. But I was afraid of everything when I was a kid, and
Yeah.
I was terrified of actual horror movies. But like, if my parents went and saw anything, I would demand, and my mom usually would, like, tell me beat for beat what happened, kind of thing.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, but I was also just realizing that, like, we're of an elder millennial age. We grew up
Mhm.
and friggin' Ghostbusters was everywhere, and like,
Yeah.
Are You Afraid of the Dark and Goosebumps and like Fear Street and all of these like young honestly, kid aimed horror
Yeah.
things.
Or even
Um,
the non-horror was like Labyrinth and
right,
Return to
yeah.
Oz, and like so everything was
Oh,
spookier
Return to
back
Oz
then.
scared the shit out of me when I
That's
was a kid.
still I showed a friend the like headless scene when all the heads come
Yeah.
alive. A friend who had never seen this movie, I just showed her that out of context the other day, and she was like, "What the fuck is this?" She's like, "That's
When
the
I tell people
scariest
that's a
thing."
Disney movie, they lose they're like, "What are you talking about?" And I'm like, "That was a
Yeah.
Walt Disney production." Maybe it was
I
Buena Vista, but
rented
still.
that movie. I saw the movie probably when I was like 4 years old, and
Yeah,
not even in a
way too
like
young.
yeah, not even in a like, "Oh, this is, like, kinda bad to be watching," just in genuinely, like, "Here's a Disney movie to watch." So, yes, it's
It's the sequel to Wizard of Oz. It'll be great. Yeah, that
yeah.
scene, the Wheelers were terrifying. I feel like
Yeah. It's
even
all
like
scary.
the way the Tin Man looked, I thought was scary. Like it was all just kind of scary back then.
And also,
Um,
it starts with Dorothy getting electroshock
oh
therapy
yeah, because
because
they
they
think
think
she's
she's
insane.
crazy. Yeah, it's like it's not it's intense from the first second, it's wild.
Yeah, I really want to rewatch that. I haven't watched that in a long, long time.
It's great.
Um, I this is sort of a tangent, but not really. Within the last couple of years, maybe longer ago than that, I actually watched some of those Disney scary movies when they actually tried
Mm,
to make like kid themed scary movies. I mean, pre Hocus Pocus, but like, and I'd never seen them before. So I watched Something Wicked This Way Comes and Watcher in the Woods. And there was a third
speaking
one.
my speaking my language, those are some of my I forgot to
Yeah.
mention those, but those were really foundational in my, like, horror
Yeah.
genre, like, love as well.
And there is sort of like a fissure, I suppose, because I mean, Grimm's fairy tales were very dark. Like if you actually read
Yeah,
the things, Hans Christian Andersen also, like his, I don't know if you've ever read The Little Mermaid, but it's not a
I
particularly happy
have.
book. Um,
No.
and so but there was like there's a fissure between like, you know, there's happy fairy tales, but then there's like the real shit. And that I feel
Mhm.
like there was a period of time in the 80s and early 90s when it was like there was a kids were okay, or parents were okay with their kids being scared of stuff as long as it was a cartoon or whatever. And
Yeah.
there were so many like horror adjacent cartoons that came out, even
Mhm.
as early as like the 70s. But there was like, like the Drac Pack, or
Yeah.
um what's the other one? I don't know, but there were quite a few, like, oh, the Ghoul, not the Ghoulies is something else, but something like that. Like,
Yeah, it's also even goes back to, like, a lot of the, like, scary early, like, Disney things are, like,
yeah.
Mickey what's the one, like, creepy Mickey I don't know, there's, like,
Oh,
some
the Lonesome Ghosts or something like that. I forget what it is.
there's one that was, like, banned because it was too scary,
Mm,
and it's, like, a black and white Disney short probably from, like, the '20s or '30s, and I just watched it on one of those, like, compilation YouTube channels. It's like the like most lost media or whatever, and that
yeah,
was one of them. But it was really like the clips that exist were like really scary. So yeah.
yeah. It's so yeah. But I grew up watching all that stuff, and then like, but thinking I was like absolutely terrified of actually watching horror movies, and then I started watching horror movies when I started to get to like high school, college age. I was still kind of like, I don't know. But
Yeah.
then there would that was the heyday of AMC's Monster Vision, and they would like show cut down versions of a lot of horror movies, and I felt like that was a safer way to do it because there were
Right.
commercials, and they obviously weren't going to show like all the violence and stuff like that. And then I always point to Halloween, my sophomore year of college. I didn't have
Mhm.
anything to do because I was a dork. And so I went to Blockbuster, and sight unseen. This was like the birth of my film fandom right here.
Yeah.
Sight unseen, I rented, uh, and I watched them in this order: Evil Dead 2, Reservoir Dogs, and Swingers. And I had never seen any of them.
Oh my god. I love that you started with Evil Dead too. That
Well, because I
does,
thought so. I started with the one that was I thought was going to be the scariest, and then
Yeah,
work to the
yeah.
one that was the least scary, so that by the end of the evening I would be not scared anymore.
Right.
And I was like prepared. I'm like, here we go. And then like it was obviously not that scary, and it was awesome and everything
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. Had you
Um,
seen Evil Dead 1 or was did
nope.
you start?
I
Okay.
started with two. Actually,
That's
no,
great.
I had seen Army of Darkness already, because
Right. I
that
guess
one
with
was on
sorry, go on.
AMC, and
Yeah, I
also
was gonna
isn't
say,
scary at all.
I guess with Evil Dead, like, because the first 2 are kind of, uh, the same, it kind of doesn't like, the second
Yeah.
one is interpolating basically the first one, so, like,
Hmm.
it's probably not as it's not as crazy as if you started with Halloween 2 versus, like, Halloween
Right.
1 or
Well,
something,
I
yeah.
didn't necessarily not do that, because
Yeah.
the like on AMC, and now again, I'll point to the old days of AMC, pre Mad Men
Mhm.
AMC, where they actually like showed movies. Um, they had, I think, the rights to Halloween 2, 3, 4, and 5, and so they were showing
Yes.
those a lot. And then FX on Halloween was showing the first Halloween, and so I actually did
Yes.
watch them, and then eventually watched the first one.
I
Um,
actually as I was like, right after I said that, I was like, I definitely watched those out of order. I think the first one I saw was Halloween H2O because that was, like,
oh yeah, yeah,
the
97. So
the
yeah,
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 like, right around my,
so
like, horror
98.
education really starting, so
Yeah.
I'm sure I saw that first, actually, I think I mentioned this again in our last pod, but a funny thing about the video store that I had in my town growing up is that I think everyone would steal, like, the first movie of any like, horror franchise because they just never had the first movies. So there's a lot of franchises, like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I didn't see the first one until much later because they didn't have that at the video store. It was before streaming. So I've seen the second Texas Chainsaw Massacre t like 10 times as much as the
Mm.
first one, which is also funny because tonally pretty different. When you do finally watch the
Oh
real one, it's
yeah.
like, "Oh, that's a little bit more horrendous." But yeah, that is funny. That is another elder millennial and older experience of
Yeah.
yeah.
This is another like complete tangent, but I don't
We
necessarily
love
want
those.
everything in a franchise. Like, I like collecting stuff.
Nope.
I got to the point fair, within the last couple of years, where I'm like, I do not need a complete box set of everything. I need the
Yes.
one or two movies within the series that I actually like, and
I
I
say
don't
this to
want the
people all
rest of
the
them.
all the time when people get really hell-bent on, like, "This doesn't make sense canonically," it's like, who cares? Like, you can make like, your
Yeah.
canon can be whatever the fuck you want it to be, you
Yeah.
know? It's like it's the same with, like, Star Wars, not to get into that, but, like, I've picked the ones that are mine, and I don't
Yeah.
care about the other
And I
ones,
think
and
that's totally fine.
I think people like, you don't have to be a completionist with all this
No.
stuff, like, watch what you like, and same
Yeah.
with horror.
Yeah, very much so. And like Halloween there for a while was my like that was the franchise I decided was mine because I watched
Yeah.
almost all of them. And it's also one of the ones where almost none of them are good. And
Yeah.
I think Halloween 1 and Water I think is good. Like
Yeah,
uh
yeah.
and it might and then I like 4 okay. I think it's
Mhm.
decent and then I obviously have grown to love 3 because it's so crazy.
Right.
But I don't think the rest of them are any good at all. I guess two's okay, but like
Yeah, I think
5 and 6 are truly and 8 are truly
yeah.
awful.
No, yeah, some of them are deeply unwatchable. I kinda have a soft spot for Curse of Michael Myers just because it's so stupid, it's, like, kind of funny.
Yeah,
There's, like
and so
that's
dark.
actually weirdly my a former roommate of mine, that was her, like, her horror comfort movie was that one, and kind of it became one of mine too. So, like, that's an interesting, like, first example, I guess, of
Yeah.
one of those, but no, it's not good. But sometimes the shitty horror movies are the comforting
Honestly,
ones.
yeah.
So,
Like
like, yeah, I mean, we can get into, like, once we start naming movies more, but, like, um, yeah, no, Halloween most of those, like, horror franchises that have 10 plus movies or whatever, like, there's really only 1 or 2 in there most of the time
yeah.
that's, like, decent with a couple exceptions, but, yeah, Halloween's tough. I liked the first, like, Jamie Lee Curtis, like, of the newer ones. I don't know, I liked that trilogy a little bit more than other people. I don't think it's, like,
You know,
great,
I
but
never saw Halloween Ends because I hated Halloween Kills so much
yeah.
that I was just like I
Everyone
felt
hates Halloween Ends. I actually you should watch that one. It's like
I'd be interested to watch it just to see because I know you really like it and it does sound
yeah,
really weird.
it's formally just, like, not it kinda starts and you're like, "Whoa, whoa, whoa, okay, what are we doing?" It's one that actually does something really different with, like, the Halloween mythos, which I feel like was not happening for a while. It's just kinda
Mm,
we're remaking it, here's a sequel. And this one was kinda like, "We're gonna, like, follow some weird serial killer guy," or like a new one, I don't know.
right.
It's interesting. I would be interested to hear your interpretation.
That guy, the
Yeah.
younger protege guy is gonna be, the new Billy in, Silent Night, Deadly Night. I just watched the trailer for that.
Oh. Oh, shit. He's our new Scream King
Yeah,
kinda
which
guy.
is like 2, like, slashers. I think that's,
Yeah,
like that makes you there.
definitely.
From the people who well, I don't think it's Damien Leone, but, like, it's the people who produced the Terrifier movies, so that's the kind of ilk you're in
Oh,
for.
okay.
But that movie is trash, the original
Yeah.
one.
Oh,
Ugh,
yeah.
that one
Some of
grosses me out.
those
It's so ugh, doesn't make me
some
feel
of
good.
the very early, like not like the Friday the 13th, whatever, but a lot of the stuff that kind of was, like, coming after that, there's some real weird shit in there,
And real
like,
scuzzy stuff. Really,
real
oh
scuzzy
god.
stuff, yeah, it's kinda like taking, uh taking those like, the format of the slasher and doing some perverted ass shit with them, so,
Yeah.
yeah.
Um, do you have a type of horror movie that you are drawn to the most when it comes to, like, cozy watches?
100%. For me, it's haunted house movies. In fact, that's like I haven't been doing as much horror like movie watching this October just because I've been really busy and it hasn't been. I haven't had that like time to just like kind of sit down and binge them. But I've made a list for the rest of this October because I'm like I have to do it and. I've made the list of like solely haunted house movies that I haven't seen before.
Oh, nice. I like this.
Yeah.
Do you
So
have
I
that
was
list
like,
handy? Let's go through them.
I do. Hold on, let's
Let's
see.
do it.
Oh, actually, I don't know if
I love a haunted house movie. When I was younger, when I was first really getting into horror, I was like gore boy, which
yes.
and as the years have gone on, I have become much more austere, like quiet haunting movies.
Yes, I kinda same. I mean, I've gone through phases, but I haunted houses I think starting with Poltergeist, that kind of really
Oh yeah, of course.
got me
Yeah.
into haunted houses. My other, like, favorite I mean, this is not a wild pick, but I also love The Shining so much growing up, and, like,
Sure.
I consider that kind of a haunted house movie, so, like,
Yeah,
any kind of
I would.
anything like that plays into that coziness for me. Again, though, because I was afraid of houses, like, I still that's, like, a weird fear of mine is, like,
Interesting.
a big old house that, like, you could potentially get, like, lost in. I
But the
something about
phrase is
that.
that you are safe as them.
Exactly,
So
and that's
that's
what's
interesting.
I think it's something about the flip of, like, the domestic being, like, someplace where you think you're safe
Totally.
being the dangerous thing. That's a horror kind of
Mhm.
thing that really intrigues me. So yes, I do have my list. Some of these I have seen, so this
Okay,
is just a
sure.
larger list, but there's a bunch. They're either ones I haven't seen in a while, so I wanted to rewatch. Um, but yeah, so or most of these I haven't seen though. So and they're not in any yearly order, so
Yeah,
sorry
yeah.
about that. But I started with
How
the
goddamn dare you?
well, actually, I annoyed myself. I was making this off of, like, Letterboxd. I was kinda searching various
Sure.
lists, and so, like, there yeah, it's all over the place, but, so The Changeling I have on there, which I have seen, but I haven't seen that one in a really long
That
time.
movie is incredible. If you haven't seen The
It's so
Changeling,
good.
highly
Yeah,
recommend.
very good. The Old Dark House I have on here,
Which version? The OG?
the OG, I have not seen the OG. I don't think I've seen any version, actually. Some of these, though, it's like these are another one where, like, not AMC, but what's like TCM, like other channels that were
Sure.
playing old movies. I
Mhm.
have seen a lot of like that's where I first saw the original House on Haunted Hill,
Mm.
the like
Vincent
Vincent
Price one.
Price one. Yeah, 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 like was just playing on TV. So I've probably seen fragments of some of these, but um and then I have Legend of Hell House, which I have seen and I have read the book, but I haven't seen in a long time. And that one really disturbed me, I remember when I first
Yeah.
saw it. So I'm kind of actually like, that's a really creepy house in that movie.
Oh, yeah, and I think it was
Yeah.
entirely it's like a multi-story set that they build, like, it's directed by John Hoff, who directed
Yes.
Watcher in the Woods, so there you go.
Yes. I love Watcher in the Woods. That's
Yes.
a Lindsay classic. Although that's one that doesn't necessarily hold up
No,
as
no, I
much
didn't think it
unless
was all
you
that good actually, but
no, it's not, but I saw that at such a formative age
yeah.
that scenes in that still freak me out. I have Buster Keaton's The Haunted House from 1921, which I have not seen actually.
I'm sure I've seen that one, I don't really remember it.
Yeah, I have Burnt Offerings, which I did watch the other night. I think I had seen parts of it before, but that movie fucking rocks. It's like it's not good, but it's like
Yeah,
there's some really cool, interesting, like, stuff going on. It actually weirdly is kinda similar to Watcher in the Woods. There's some, like, overlap there.
yeah.
Uh
Also loving Oliver last night I rewatched The Brood, so I'm all in on
mm,
Oliver Reed in the
I
'80s
love
being
Oliver
weird.
Reed. Yeah, he's in some great horror stuff too. The
Yeah.
Devil's one of my favorites.
Yes.
Love him. The Uninvited, which is I wrote about this movie for
Yeah, you
Nerdist.
did.
Remember that one? Yeah,
I
because I
do.
was like, "That movie is scary as shit too," and it's very simple, but, like, that one's, I believe, the '40s, and, like, yeah, just the ghost imagery in that one is
Mhm.
really spooky to me, and I just love that movie. Ghost Story, the 1981
Mhm.
movie, which I've seen but not in a million years. The Sentinel, which I've never actually seen
Oh,
before.
man. I
Yeah.
cannot wait for you to watch this.
I thought I
Everyone who
had.
exists is in that movie.
Yeah, that I was reading the cast list and I was like, "This is crazy." I think I thought I had seen it, and then the more I was looking it up, I'm like, "I don't think I have."
I really enjoy
Um,
The Sentinel. I'm excited to hear what you think.
yeah, I'm excited for that one. The Woman in Black, the 1989 Herbert Wise
Yes.
movie, I haven't seen that one. I've seen the Daniel Radcliffe one, but
Right.
not that one.
Have you ever read The Woman in Black?
I have not. No,
No.
I
It's,
haven't. So
they're all 3 both movies in that book are different enough that it's, like, worth
right,
doing, but,
I
I think the
should.
'89 one is incredible, so, that's
That's
yeah.
yeah, that's what I've heard. So I will be watching that one. Shock, the Mario Bava movie.
Yep. You're speaking my
I haven't.
language.
I know. There's a couple on here where I was like, Kyle Core. Um, 13 Ghosts, the original, which I have seen, the 1961.
Yeah. William Castle.
Which is yeah, which is silly. That's the one with like in the theater they had the smell-o-vision or whatever.
Right.
Or like there's a whole word for it. I forget the
Yeah, what was
antics
it?
there.
Screamo-vision. It wasn't
It
that,
is
but
something like that. I wrote an article
that was The
about this
Tingler.
once too. Yes. It's Spectrorama or something
Oh,
like
that's
that.
it. It's
Is
Spectrorama.
that it?
Yeah.
Spectrorama, yeah. I wrote an article or like a piece about that a long time ago. So yeah, I just want to revisit that one. I've seen the newer one many times, the Tony Shalhoub.
Yeah.
movie. It's so bad, but um I
Oh, no,
have
it's Illusiono. 13 Ghosts
oh,
is
okay.
Illusiono. I forget what Spectrorama is, but
Okay.
doesn't matter.
That's something else.
That does not roll off the tongue, literally at
It
all,
doesn't. Really, like, none of those do. Uh, and now The Screaming starts, the 73 movie I have on here,
which is
haven't
weird.
seen.
It's a weird
Yeah,
one.
it looked weird. I have The Stone Tape. I don't even remember what that
Dude,
is.
oh, yes. Stone
Is
Tape
that a
rules. Yeah.
okay, what is
The
that? Is that a
the Stone Tape was a British, it was a TV movie.
okay,
Um,
yeah.
so it's all shot on video, which makes it adds a layer or whatever, but it's about this group of seemingly 900 men and one woman
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
who
of
who
course.
are they go to this I don't even know what it is, if it's like somebody's house or if it's like a like a laboratory that is built onto the ruins of an old like manor house castle type thing.
Okay.
And basically they use this resonance equipment to kind of read the walls, and there is
Mm,
like some sort of specter or something that is like,
yeah,
embedded into the wall. So it's a Nigel Neal wrote it, and it's like a mix of like kind of it takes ghosts from in a scientific manner, but it's still super metaphysical and stuff. And Jane
love it.
Asher's the woman in it, and she's awesome.
Okay, that sounds deeply like my shit. In fact, I always tell, like, friends, I'm like, "I don't necessarily believe in ghosts, but I do believe in, like, energies and,
Totally.
like, bad stuff, bad juju getting trapped in the pipes or whatever." So, like, I
Yeah.
love a, like, scientific
Have you ever
mixed
seen
with
Ghostwatch?
I have seen Ghostwatch. In fact, that was one of the movies I was planning to talk about today because that is
Speaking
a
of
co
pipes, the
and
name of the
that's a
ghost is Pipes.
yes, and that one's based on the Enfield poltergeist, right?
Mhm.
The same thing as The Conjuring. Very good. I love that movie.
Mhm.
Or like the TV. Is it even a movie? It's like a TV special. Um, what else do I have on here? Quiet Place in the Country, 1968 movie. I, I don't know. I don't remember what
I
that
have seen
is.
that. That one is Elio Petri, if I am
It is
correct.
Petri. Yes, you're right. I have
Um,
it.
it's an interesting. His movies are not easily definable,
Mm-hmm.
but it does have Franco Nero and Vanessa Redgrave, so you're in good hands.
Right. Okay. Yeah, I think some of these I picked, I was like, if there's someone in the cast who I trust to be in at least an interesting movie they're going on
Yeah.
here. The Haunting of Julia, I have seen that.
Mm,
It's been a minute. Um, Haunted Horror House. It's a 1969 movie. I don't
I don't know
again,
that one.
I
That's
probably
not one I know.
should have written down the directors
Haunted
for these.
Horror House.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the Haunted House of Horror?
Yeah, honestly, maybe. I don't know. I wrote down The Haunted Horror House 1969.
It is 1969. Michael Armstrong
Okay.
directed it, who directed
Maybe. What's it
friggin'
actually called?
Mark of the Devil. It's called The
Okay.
Haunted House of Horror. You were very
Okay.
close.
I feel like, sometimes like those movies, like older movies do have multiple titles.
Yeah. Also known
Like,
as Horror House and The Dark.
right, like it has like 3 titles. So maybe somewhere in there I was right.
Never
Um
seen it. It does have Frankie Avalon in it though, so good luck.
yes. Yes. That one, if I recall correctly, looked kind of silly, so we'll see.
Yeah, there's no way it's
Um
not.
yeah, and then I have The House That Would Not Die, 1970 film. Um again, I don't really remember uh I was not prepared to read this list or else I would have
No, I
organized
mean,
it.
yeah, put it on you. That's one I haven't seen. I haven't seen that one.
Okay,
It
cool.
was a
So we
made for
got some
TV
you haven't
movie.
seen.
I love made for TV horror movies from the 70s.
I
That
do
is
know.
a recent jam of mine.
I feel like I edited an article that you wrote
You
that was
must
like
have. You
the
must have
best
done.
like horror like 70s TV horror movies. Max Every too. He and I
Mhm.
talk a lot about he loves made for TV horror movies too, and I think
Yeah.
last year, the year before, I made him give me a list
There's
of
a
them
lot
that
of
I have
really
not
good
worked
ones.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah, there
Kino
is.
Kino Lorber has been putting out a ton of that stuff, and they also put out
Oh,
like
cool.
Night Gallery and like all
Right.
of these really great
Love
anthology horrors, like Kolchak the Night Stalker.
I fucking love Kolchak. I love a lot of those old like
Yeah,
anthology ones, big time.
me too.
Okay, I just have a few more left in here. I have
Yes.
the Nesting, the 1981 film,
Okay, I haven't seen that one.
Lost Hearts from 1973.
Oh, that's a
Um,
ghost story for Christmas.
yeah, I think
It's only
yes,
like
and
20
then
minutes long. It's short.
Perfect. And then I have The Haunted, which is a 1991 movie that is about the Warrens, like, The Conjuring, or they're, like, characters in it. So, like,
Interesting.
pre The Conjuring, this I think this might be a made-for-TV one too, The Haunted, 1991 is what it's called. Or it's called The Haunted, it was released in 1991.
Let's see.
Um, I don't remember exactly how the Warrens are involved, but I did write next to this, "Warrens!" exclamation
Oh,
point,
yeah.
so Warrens
Diane
mentioned.
Baker and Stephen Markle play the Warrens. Oh, it's about the Smurl case, which is the one that I think the most
Yes.
recent movie was made out
Was it the
of.
was it the most recent, or was it The Devil Made Me Do It
It's no, it's the
one?
most recent one, The Last Rites,
Okay,
because
okay.
the Devil
Oh,
Made Me
right,
Do It
right.
one was the
Right,
can't
that
remember the
other
guy's name, but
yeah, I don't remember either. I
I
that
don't know
one
if
I
I've ever
will
talked about it on on the podcast, but I've written about it on the site, and it makes me angry that the Warrens are like deified in those movies because they were
oh, yeah.
absolute monsters and
Pieces of shit, yeah.
charlatans and just
Yep.
thieves.
Not great people,
No,
it's
they
kind
were
of a
real
weird
bad people.
I wish they had just, like, I mean, I guess they kinda did fictionalize them, but I wish they had made it more fictionalized, like,
Yeah,
not the same names or whatever, because it does lead to, like, interest you can't have Patrick Wilson, one of the
they're
hottest
great
men
characters in the
alive.
movies.
Yeah,
Like,
yes, that's what I'm
yeah,
saying, but, like, it's an insult to make that beautiful man play that nasty man, the nasty little
yeah,
man, I in a
yeah.
way where he's supposed to be endearing. And then the last one I have on here is The Witchery from 1988. Don't remember what that one was either.
Have I seen that one? That one is um I cannot remember if I've seen that one. It's Italian for sure. Um,
Mhm.
I think it's Umberto Lenzi, maybe.
Okay.
Uh, but
I do
I don't think I've seen that
remember
one. I'm
I
gonna
do
consider it.
remember a lot of these were Italian because I've seen most of the American or, like, most of the big other ones, so, I was going a little bit more,
No, directed by
international, I suppose.
Fabrizio Laurenti. I've not seen this one. It does star Linda
Okay.
Blair and David Hasselhoff, though, so that'll be
Yes,
fun.
I remember the Linda Blair of it was probably what intrigued me. So that's my list. But there's obviously so many other
That's,
great
I
haunted
mean,
house movies that I've seen. So I'm trying to
yes.
focus on ones I haven't.
Oh yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. That's a good
And
list.
I've seen a lot of like the American ones, and then I've also seen a lot of like J horror like
Yeah.
stuff too. So I went through like a phase maybe like 10 years ago or something where I was like, I'm gonna watch all the J horror, like classics and stuff, like, and Korean horror and stuff too. So
Hmm.
there's some great haunted house ones mixed in there too. But
Yeah.
I guess focusing more on Italian ones this time and TV movie ones.
Well,
So
that I mean, that dovetails very nically because, like, because I love those two. Like, I'm big fan of J horror, and have been watching a lot of like Japanese found footage movies, which have been really
yeah.
interesting and stuff.
Hmm.
Um, but my like absolute comfort is Italian Gothic. It was Giallo. I've kind of watched all the Giallo I need to watch, I think, at this point.
Yeah, yeah.
I have my ones that I'll return to, but I'm like, I did the big pilgrimage through all the
I
Giallo movies.
remember that. Yeah, I
Yeah,
remember when you
I
were
could not get enough
hardcore.
of those things.
I know.
But Italian Gothic, definitely British Gothic, and then newly found is Spanish Gothic from the
Mm,
post Francisco Franco era, kind of
okay.
even like toward the end of it. That kind of stuff. First of all, I love the look of all these of the film itself. It just
Mhm.
feels warm. That was when they were
Yeah.
using kind of cheap Technicolor, but it looked really great.
Mhm.
These big, huge, elaborate sets.
Yep.
Um, and uh, as like dark as they get, and especially the Italian and mostly the Italian ones, Spanish a little bit, but they're really subversive too. So it's
Mm,
like
yeah, yeah.
um there's a lot of like weird psychosexual stuff in these movies, which is
Hell
what
yeah.
Gothic literature and Gothic, like all the good stuff in Gothic should have. And most of
Yep.
it's definitely the American ones, but the British stuff kind of removes just because of censorship issues, but
Right.
Italy did not have to worry about that too much at the time.
Nope.
Post-fascist Italy was just like, do whatever you want.
Yeah, exactly. Spanish Gothic stuff I have actually really, as you were saying that, I'm like, not a genre I've dipped into, so that's good
I
to
There's a lot of really fascinating stuff about Spanish horror just in general, and
Mhm.
the fact that because even after Francisco Franco died, there was still a lot of like heavy censorship rules, and so there was a big
Yeah.
thing in Spain where you could depict things that were, scary or more horrific or whatever. Like, there's this actor writer who went by the name Paul Nashi. His real name was Jacinto Molina, but um, who made this long series of uh, werewolf movies, and then like he did a Dracula movie, and he did like all sort. Basically, he was the Lon Chaney of
Mm,
Spain for a long time.
okay.
Just a
Cool.
huge fan of Gothic horror and stuff. But
Yeah.
you could do all these things as long as it wasn't the characters weren't Spanish, and that uh, country that this happened wasn't Spain,
Okay. That's kind
because it
of an
was
interesting
because it's like, well, that stuff
workaround.
doesn't happen here, which is
Right,
like it
right.
doesn't happen anywhere. It's fake,
Right.
but like
Right.
you can't
Especially
depict
not
these
us
things.
though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
find that really interesting, and also like it was just like how much boundaries could they push, because these were still exploitation movies, so there needed to be
Mhm.
a certain amount of gore and nudity in them, even in the
Right.
early 70s. Um, stuff that France could get away with forever because they just were like, yeah, it's great. But
Right,
like
right.
that Spain especially had to really like find ways around. There's a really
Yeah.
interesting movie called oh shoot, what is it called? The House That Screamed is what I want to say.
I feel like I have seen that, and in fact, I feel like I saw that on your recommendation. Wasn't it the one with, isn't there, like, blood coming out of the walls or something? Was that
Gosh, now I can't remember. It's about a girls' like reform school. Um,
Oh, okay, no, never mind, I'm thinking of something else.
and there's like a voyeuristic aspect to it, because there's like and kind of a weird like the head mistress makes the girls like whip each other and stuff like that, and it's very, but I mean, you can be titillated by it. I'm not you. You can do whatever you want, but like it's not done for titillation purposes. It's done for like this is
Right.
messed up kind of purposes. Um,
Is it like, a haunted house movie? Should I add that to my list? I guess it
you
says The
could,
House That Screamed. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
It's not quite haunted housey, but it's
Okay,
enough. It's got the vibes for sure.
cool. Yeah, just looking at I looked it up online, the pictures look like
Yeah.
that. What was the one actually, I'll ask you offline because I'm
Okay.
it's gonna be one of those ones where I'm like, it was
What is
there was
this?
one I
What's the
watched.
movie?
There's something I watched that was at your recommendation that had a similar like title to that. Anyway,
There's a
um,
lot of those, that the house that did something or whatever.
yeah, exactly.
Um, but I love those, like, Mario Bava, you mentioned, who, made some of the most sumptuous looking Gothic horror movies ever.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
loved early Hammer movies, because of the
Same.
way that, like, all the Christopher Lee Draculas, I think, are really great, but also not great. Like, some of them are
Yeah.
really bad, but they're tremendous. I actually do think all the Frankenstein movies are good that they
hmm
made, with the
hmm
exception of the remakey one that's kind of a joke, but all the ones
Right,
with
right, right.
Peter Cushing I think are really good. But
Yeah.
then I love the Roger Corman, Edgar Allan Poe cycle also.
Right. I haven't seen like much of that. I remember also you talking about those
I
to me
I have
before.
my things, and I will not shut up about them.
No, it's okay because obviously I like to hear them and these are the things we talk about. But
Yeah,
yeah, I think yeah, the thing with haunted house stuff or gothic horror that like falls in that jurisdiction is just like yeah, there's also always like plays on the domestic in the sense of like Burnt Offerings is a great
right.
example of that where it's really about like the nuclear family having like a meltdown once they're in this crazy house and that is something that I think comes up a lot too and to like tie it back to like childhood stuff and whatever like I was seeing a lot of dysfunction in a domestic
Mm,
setting and I think there's like seeing that exaggerated in the context of like a horror thing was again oddly comforting. So, but there's also something like you were saying to the ornateness, the house is like looking scary and comforting at the same time because it's usually like old furniture and like
right.
cushy, like lots of cushions and dark rooms and like it's someplace where you're like I could sleep really well in there if it wasn't like there's
Yeah,
an
I mean, because
element of
the
that.
beds are always these big, the plushest beds you could possibly sleep in.
Yeah,
Uh,
exactly. So
um,
there's just a lot of like weirdly comforting elements within what can be a very fucked up genre. So, yeah.
I also have recently watched a lot of German Edgar Wallace
Mm,
adaptations
okay.
during the late 50s, early 60s, actually into the 70s as well. They, uh, for whatever reason, the British crime writer Edgar Wallace was incredibly popular and Edgar Wallace wrote a lot of things in the early 1900s. He also wrote the screenplay King Kong, like that's his big like
Okay.
claim to fame. But then he died in the 30s. Um, and in the 50s, they just started making a bunch of adaptations of these Edgar Wallace movies, which are modern set, almost all of them, but
Hmm.
they are gothic and they're crime, but there's also a gothic horror element. There's a lot of like slasher elements to them. They
Okay,
were the
cool.
prototype for Giallo movies.
Right.
And they were really hard to find. They kind of still are really hard to find. I ended up getting like German Blu-rays that just happen to have English subtitles,
Uh-huh. Good.
which means that I can't read the the menus. I just have to guess that that's what's happening.
True. True.
And there's a few of them in the sets that don't have English subtitles, and I'm like, well, great. Well, that's
Yeah.
you know, you don't know
Pick
that.
up
Yeah.
yeah. You can pick up the
Um,
vibe
yeah.
without yeah.
And they all have really great titles like the Blue Hand of Death and like the
That's what I love about, like, giallo movies is just,
yeah.
like, the most insane titles ever, which we need to bring back. This is one of my biggest complaints. I've maybe had this rant on this
Yeah.
podcast before, but my biggest complaint is just that movies have, like, the shittiest titles now, and it's like, I don't know what like, I keep getting invites for press screenings, and I'm like, "I don't know what this is," because
Yeah.
the titles are all so generic that I keep, like, losing track of, like, what is what. Um,
We need to
so
first of all, we need to stop having movies called The Ritual. Stop it.
yes. Yes.
Quit it.
Yes. The ritual, the like anything that's like the something,
Yeah.
the I don't know. There was another one that
We just
sprung to
watched
mind and
over
now
the
I can't remember.
weekend a baffling movie
Mhm.
starring Dakota Fanning. It's on Paramount Plus, and it's just called Vicious, and there's absolutely no
Okay.
reason why it's called that.
What was the was it the ritual? What was the one that M Night Shyamalan's daughter directed? That one also had such a generic title. I kept forgetting
I think that might be The
what
Ritual.
it it's something like that. Where
Uh,
I just like I missed it because I kept like forgetting what
yeah,
it was even called.
there's a 2009 movie called The Ritual. There's a 2017 movie called The Ritual, and there's a 2025 movie called The Ritual.
Okay.
Uh,
We love
uh,
that.
uh, M Night. What
Oh,
is
The
his daughter?
Watchers. It's called The
Oh, The
Watchers,
Watchers. That one.
which is
Yes.
another one. Like there's Watcher, the like that came out at the
Yeah.
same time as like that TV show on Netflix about that Watcher thing and like the on the East Coast. Do you
Right.
remember that like
I
case where
do.
the family started receiving weird letters? Those two things came out like right around the same time. Watcher in the Woods. There's just a lot of horror movies with Watcher
And then
somewhere
there
in
was
it.
another movie called The Watcher,
The Watcher, oh, the
which
Micah
has Micah
Monroe
Monroe.
movie.
Yeah,
I
which
loved
is
that
good. I
movie.
like that movie.
It's
Yeah.
very good, and but that one's hard to recommend because the title just sounds like nothing. So, yes, this is my complaint. Bring back
And
giallo titles.
but yeah, Jello titles like Your Vice is a Locked Room and Only I Have the Key. There is one movie
Yes.
that is that. You wouldn't be like,
Yes.
is that other movie? No,
Right,
it's
exactly.
the one movie. The Strange Vice of Mrs.
Exactly.
Ward.
What's
Like
the one, with the bird?
the
There's a
bird with the
bird.
crystal plumage,
Yes, that one, love that title.
Dario Argento movie. Cat of Nine
Yes.
Tails, Four Flies on Gray
Yes.
Velvet.
Honestly,
Um,
even something like Suspiria is like you hear that and
yeah,
you're like,
what
"What
is
is
that?
that?"
Yeah.
Yeah, what does
Yeah.
that mean? Like something that like catches your attention. It doesn't have to be long, but like
Yeah. Well, even the
there's
title
just
Witchery, like that doesn't mean
yeah,
anything, but it sounds cool.
exactly. Yeah, it doesn't like honestly even something like Sinners. That's a cool title because that's
Yeah.
like could mean a lot of things, and there's whatever. Anyway, separate rant. It's like I think we did talk about literally
I'm
this.
sure at some point in
Yeah,
our lives, you and I have talked about this,
yeah,
but
yeah.
I can't stand a bad title because it's just like,
No,
well, what? And I would, yeah, much rather have just a title that doesn't mean anything if it sounds cool.
yeah,
Like,
exactly.
um, but yeah, so any of those like German ones I think are really fun and there is a sense of like humor to them all, which I think is adds
Yeah,
to the kind of coziness.
totally.
Klaus Kinski is in just about all of them. Um,
Excellent.
Yes, and he always well, spoilers. He most of the time plays the red herring, who's not actually the villain, but he seems like he should be because he's Klaus Kinski.
Right, right, right. It's kinda like Bill Skarsgård and, like,
Right.
what's it called?
Barbarian.
Barbarian. Yeah, yeah. Where I don't know. He should start doing that more. Just be the. He
Yeah.
looks so scary and he's Pennywise that you're just always expecting him to be bad, and then sometimes he's not.
Yeah. Um, I forgot to mention when you were talking about ghost movies, have you seen,
Hmm.
I think you have, and I bet we've talked about it.
Probably.
Whatever. People are listening in, they don't know what we've talked about. Um, The Innocents.
Yes, love The Innocence.
The
That was a
Innocents
hard
is
one to see
yeah.
for a while. It was
Yeah.
like it's on Criterion now, but it was like you couldn't rent it, you couldn't whatever. Um, and so I actually made some friends watch it. That was one of the ones I rented when my grandma would let me rent movies because
Oh, wow.
a lot of the horror movies at like the
Oh,
library
you know what?
were
We talked about it because it's Turn of the Screw, and that was when
it's
we were
Turn of the
doing
Screw.
Bly Manor stuff all those
Yes,
years back.
yes. I know, weirdly kind of a while ago.
Yeah.
Which I do have some Flanagan stuff on my cozy horror list, which I'm sure we'll get to, but
Mhm.
and including haunted house stuff. But uh oh god, what was I just saying?
Your
Fully
grandma
just blanked.
let you
Oh, my
rent.
grandma let me watch The Innocents, yes. And I think that was like that and The Uninvited were also like I rented that
Yeah.
also. And they're so I kind of those two are kind of linked in my brain for some reason. And for a while I used to confuse them. But yes, The Innocence is so great, and that one is really scary to me because like there's something scary to me when there's like ghosts appearing in like such a beautiful place too. Like there's imagery of that in Haunting of Hill House, the Shirley Jackson novel that I'm rereading. I forget about that. There's just like times when they'll see like kind of phantom people like having a picnic or whatever. And there's something so scary about that to me. And that's in the Innocence as well. And then also just the fucked upness of like that ending and everything.
Yeah.
It's like a weirdly uncomfortable movie for like that era. Yes, I love that one. And that one is one of like an example of like a black and white movie being so beautiful. There's like texture in the black and
Yeah.
white. It's one of the most like beautifully filmed movies, I think.
Yeah. That Jack Clayton directed it. I want to say Freddie
Mhm.
Francis shot it, and he directed a lot of like
Yeah.
Hammer and Amicus horror movies.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's one of the best looking black and white movies. And Deborah Carr is tremendous in it.
So good. Yes.
Um, yeah, it was Freddie Francis, and the music and everything, and also like it's based on Henry James, but it was uh gussied up by Truman Capote, which I
Mhm.
think is really great.
Uh-huh. I
Um,
forgot about that. Yeah, yeah.
so it's very sexually repressed, which I find really great. I
Mhm.
mean, the character in the book is read that way, but she's like a young, naive person, whereas Deborah Carr by this point was in her 40s, I believe. And so it was
Yeah.
you kind of read it more like the repressed spinster, which is way more interesting, I think.
Way more interesting. I know. That was something that disappointed me about Bly Manor is that I don't know. I like that Flanagan takes like big liberties with his adaptations actually, but um because that story there's like a repression theme in the it's like a queer repression theme, I guess, in Bly Manor, which is interesting, but I think I did miss the element of it being like an older woman who yeah, I don't know, like there's more of a distance between her and the children she's watching. It creates just kind of a yeah, a more peculiar
Mhm.
sort of vibe, I guess. And yeah, I really love that about The Innocents. And
Yeah.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
the way the guy and your point about like just stuff being in the background or like
Mhm.
seeing stuff and then like it ends up being you were looking at ghosts the whole time. I find that stuff so like affecting every time it's not if it's done ham-fistedly or anything like that, but in
Yeah.
movies like this where it's subtle or like
Yeah.
where movies where you're always kind of looking at the corners. I mean, that's what makes Flanagan's Haunting of Hill House so great because you can
Yeah.
watch it multiple times and catch different ghosts you hadn't caught before and everything. And
Yep.
that,
That's yeah,
yeah,
that's my I feel the need to talk about Haunting of Hill House because, as you know, I think, and as anyone who's ever read my Nerdist content, I wrote a lot about that show.
yeah.
That was such a surprise to me because I went into it as a hater because I remember the trailer and how it changed everything from the Jackson
Right.
novel.
Cause you're
And
a Shirley Jackson purist, basically.
fanatic, she's my favorite writer of all time. One of the only writers where I have literally read everything
Mm.
published that she has written, and so she's very important to me. And I was mad about just everything. I'm like, "How dare you change that story?" Like, that's such a great story about, like, feminine repression and, like yeah, like, exactly kinda like The Innocents. It's an older spinster woman who's, going through it and, like, yeah, it's just, to me, a very, like, personal story, and the idea of making it, like, about a family and stuff just felt very, like, antithetical to what I thought that book was, but I remember I got the screeners for Nerdist, and I devoured them in 1 or 2 days. Like, I watched it
Yeah.
so quickly, and I loved it, and to me, it's a great, like, adaptation too, because it does, like, the spirit of that book is really in that show. It's different, like, it's given to, like, spread out among
Mhm.
characters. Like, the mom says a lot of, like, quotes directly from that book. Eleanor's character, yeah, Nell's character says a lot of stuff from that character, and so a lot of that stuff still comes through. But that to me is, like, such a cozy show. It's scary as hell. Like, it's not just a nothing, but there's, yeah, I don't know, the characters are comforting. I think that's something that can help with these movies too, is like, if the characters feel like weirdly family or friends or
Mhm.
something by the end of it, like, there's something you connect to it a little bit more. But
Well,
I
and
love
that
that
kinda
show.
speaks to what I love about ghosts and, uh, ghost stories
Mhm.
specifically and Gothic horror as well. But I think specifically ghosts is that there's a level of, like, melancholy to them that's part and
Yes.
parcel to that. If vampires are about kind of sex and, werewolves are sort of about, I don't even know what, closeted rage, who even knows? But
Yeah, what's
you
the
can be a
metaphor
number of
there?
things actually,
Yeah, yeah.
uh, depending on who it is. But, like, ghosts
Disease. Yeah.
to be a good ghost story, there has to be some level of melancholy to it,
Yeah.
and that's why I think Flanagan's so good at ghost stories is because he always adds a level of, I guess, like, New England sadness to everything.
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. And I've, had the luxury of getting to talk to him. I did a piece specifically about haunted houses where I got to interview him, which was one of the coolest things I ever got to write for Nerdist, because he was not promoting anything. I
right.
literally just reached out to his people and was like, "Would he be interested in talking to me about haunted houses?" And he called me the next day and talked to me for like 2 hours about just whatever. And it was during COVID. The piece was kind of about like, how there was, like, remember when, like, in early COVID there was, like, an uptick in, like, haunted, like, people reporting hauntings and
Yeah.
stuff in their home? That was, like, a big thing. There was, like, a New York Times piece about it, so we just kinda talked about that, about, like, what makes haunted houses, like, what is the
Mhm.
appeal, what is the allure of, like, a haunted house? And he talked so much about like, houses being like bodies, right? And, like, how, there's that element of it too. Like, there's a reflection in the actual, like, concept of a home that's related to, like, the human body. And that comes up a lot in Hill House, where it's like the red room or whatever is like the stomach of the house. The
Mhm.
pipes are like the veins, and, like, how, they kind of mirror the melancholy of the person, the people that live there or whatever. Um so that was cool to get to talk to him about that. But yeah, I think, and then he also does with Gothic stories what I was talking about off mic when I was ranting about Frankenstein, which is his are focused emotion first, and then the
Mhm.
other stuff kind of spills out of it. Like, it's about what these people are feeling and first, and then the other stuff matches it. The house is almost like secondary in some ways in that thing. It's not like the main character despite being the title.
Mhm.
And so I really, that's like what connects me to those stories more too, is like, is there, what is the personal element connecting it to this place? And so yeah, I think he's very successful at that. Bly Manor, as mentioned, I like a little bit less, but he
Yeah.
also, like, low key though, I also think people don't realize this. With Haunting of Hill House, he wrote and directed every episode of that. With Bly Manor, he was way more hands off. He did the first, I think
Yeah,
he
because I
wrote the
think he was
first
making Doctor Sleep at
Doctor
the time?
Sleep.
Yeah.
Yes, which
Yeah.
I can also firsthand account for, because I did a set visit for Doctor Sleep where he was talking about how he was in development for the next, like, haunting series. But uh yeah, that one is not, it doesn't have his fingerprints on it as much as something like Hill House or Midnight Mass or some of the other ones. So
Yeah. Or even,
um
House of Usher,
yeah, yes,
which
exactly. He
and
also wrote and directed all of.
the thing I do love, especially in retrospect, because when I, watched Blind Manor, I hadn't read any Henry James except Turn of the Screw,
Right.
and I had after that, after I watched the thing, so I didn't know any of these stories that he was adapting. I just knew that they were adaptations of different Henry James stories, which I
Yeah.
think is a cool idea
Yeah,
to have it
yeah.
be all one author basically. So then I
Mhm.
subsequently read, the collected ghost stories of Henry James, and I was like, "Oh, these are great." And I
Yeah.
went back and it gave me a different appreciation. I still don't think I think it's an imperfect show for sure.
Yeah.
Um,
I think it definitely, like, yes, some of the stories, the one he weaves in with, like, the doppelgangers and, like, the Henry Thomas stuff, like, some of that is cool. Yeah, I think I don't know. I don't something is a little off about that one for me. It just doesn't I don't think
yeah.
the ghost stuff really congeals into anything that makes
No,
sense
I
to
honestly
me.
think that, like, Turn of the
Yeah.
Screw and the rest of his oeuvre don't fit together, I don't think really
Yeah.
well. Like,
No, that's a
it's
good point,
it's
yeah.
not as easy as something like Edgar Allan Poe, which I think Flanagan refined doing that
Mhm.
thing with having all the different kids in the Usher clan each having their own Edgar Allan Poe story is so smart.
That show fucking rules. I need to rewatch
I
it.
do
I loved
too.
it.
I
Yeah,
watched it
but
like 3 times that year it came out, and then I haven't
I
watched it again
didn't
since.
weirdly, despite rewatching all of his other stuff a lot, I've only watched that one once and then went back because I wrote some stuff about it, but,
Mhm.
like, I haven't done a full rewatch since, so I need to do that because I love
That's
it.
I love the vibe of that one,
Yeah.
but that was another one where, like, I'd read a good amount of Poe, like,
Yeah.
a lot of it actually happened during COVID. I was like horror literature sort of became my,
Mhm.
you know, um, my escape because I was always in front of screens at my house, and so I was like, "I
Right, right,
need
right.
something else," and so I was but that's when I read, like, um the rest of Edgar Allan Poe and just like, all the M.R. James stuff. And, I had
Mhm.
read most of the H.P. Lovecraft stuff. And so it was just sort of like, this is my period of time when I'm just like getting into like classic horror
Yeah.
literature as much as possible. Um, oh, shoot, I can't remember. Oh, but there was a bunch of Edgar Allan Poe stories that I had not read yet. And so, like, there were like references to things that I didn't get the first time I watched it, or even the second time I watched it. But when I watched it the third time, I was like, I understood that. I get that
Yeah, yeah,
reference or
yeah.
whatever.
It's kinda Hill House is kinda like that too. It's not as much of, like, bringing in Shirley Jackson's, like, short stories or whatever, but there are some really, like, clever small references to the book Hill House that, like, you
Mm,
wouldn't catch unless you've read that book 100 times like me, and
right.
I really appreciate it for that. There's even, like, small stuff in that when they reference have you read Haunting of Hill House? I
Yeah.
can't remember. Yeah, there's
Yep.
in that book, there's, like, dogs that are, like, haunting there's, like, spooky dogs in the house, ghost dogs, and it is kind of a big part of the book, and then in the show, there's just a couple times where, like, Henry Thomas's character mentions, like, "Yeah, the kids keep hearing, like, dogs barking outside." Just, like, little stuff like that, that's
Yeah.
just, like, clear, like, reverence for the material that's not being, like, noisy about it, and I do think that's in Usher a lot too, so, there's probably even more in Bly that
I'm
I've read
sure
a
there
lot of
yeah.
Henry James, yeah, but I don't remember a lot of it because it was in, like, college, so,
Um,
um
please.
oh, no, I was just gonna say, do we wanna talk about other comforting
Yeah, let's do
genres
it.
to us?
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, we could talk about
um,
Flanagan shit all day, but
all
let's
day. But he's, like, an epitome of, like, comforting horror to me because it's scary and it's, like, meaty, like, I like to have, like, shit
yeah.
to think
Well,
about, you
and
know?
there is a level of like sentimentality to his work
Yes, yes.
that I think creates that level of like
Yeah,
comfort because you kind of
yeah.
go, yeah, I like these people. Oh, they're terrified, and I'm terrified.
Yeah, and I
Except
usually
for
don't
the Usher
like
people, that everyone in that is bad, but
I'm not usually, like, a sentimentalist when it
neither
comes
am
to
I.
movies, but he does a really good job of it, I think,
Yeah.
like, where it tonally matches what he's up to. Um, yeah, I would say and then, like, weirdly, another comforting, like, horror genre for me is slasher stuff. Like, half
Mm,
the time when I'm like, I need something to put on, and I don't know what it is, and I want something fun, but not too heavy, but whatever, like, I think maybe some people are like comedy or, something like fun
I've
and
never
uplifting.
been that way.
No, me neither,
Yeah.
me neither. I've always been but slashers kind of fulfill that for me because they are funny a lot of the time. A lot of them are meta. Not all of them, but a lot of them are meta. There's like a I don't know, there's something about like a bad Halloween sequel that is more comforting to me than like, I don't know, what's like a rom-com or something people like,
Yeah.
My Best Friend's Wedding or whatever.
Right.
It's like there's something more like background noise comforting to me, probably because they're sort of formulaic and there's like, you can kind of like see what's coming and yeah, I don't know, but and
Yeah,
maybe it's also yeah, for like the 90s, that's kind of
mm,
when I was developing my taste and stuff, and there was a lot of that like revival of slasher stuff at that time. So,
yeah.
yeah.
I think there if these ghost movies that we were talking about, like, an older, like, kinda classic, horror cinema, there's, like, the vibe that I find, like, comforting in with, slasher movies because there were so and same with giallo movies, honestly, but, like, the fact that there is a formula to them, and
Mhm.
they just kind of work within the formula and then try to go, you know, do something with it. But you know what you're getting into. You go into a slash movie, there's going to be somebody with a knife or an axe or something like that. Most of the time they wear a mask,
Yep.
like, and there's going to be some weird, like, suburban myth type story that either there's a
Mhm.
guy out there or whatever. There's something really comforting in just like knowing exactly the type of movie you're getting into, even if you haven't seen that particular movie.
Exactly. And, like, you can kind of predict the kills or, like, what they're gonna be, especially if you're, like, tuned in,
Yeah.
if you have watched enough of these, like in fact, to the point where sometimes, like, newer ones annoy me because 'cause I'm like, I know exactly what's gonna go
Yeah.
on here, and, like, maybe I've just seen too many, but, yeah, I don't know, there is yeah, exactly what you're saying, there's, like, a routine almost to them, um and yeah, I like that. I think the '90s ones really are I guess this isn't a slasher movie necessarily, but it was of that, like, time, but another really comforting horror movie for me is The Faculty. I've seen that 40
Mm,
million times. I'll watch it a million more. It's, like, silly, it is kind of meta horror, but it's also scary, and it's also that one, I don't know what it is, but there's something very comforting. I know it's kind of like it's got elements of, like, The Thing and, some other stuff, but, like, I don't know. That one is one I return to a lot as background noise.
yeah. Actually, like, the further we get away from it, even movies I haven't ever seen, if I watch a '90s movie, like, for example, this last weekend, I watched Practical Magic for the first time in my entire life.
Oh my
Um, and look, do I think it's a good movie? I won't answer that question.
It's
But
okay.
it is a
It's
vibe.
probably
It is a
yes.
vibe, and it is a '90s, and it is like you just kind of feel good. I mean, I do because it's
Yeah.
nostalgic, even though I hadn't seen that movie. But like, there's just
I
the
have seen
way
that
they made
movie.
movies in the '90s. Like,
It is probably the movie I've seen arguably the most in my life. I'm not kidding. Like, and it's because it is, like you said, it's very comforting. That one's got a great house. It's not a haunted house, but the house is such a character in that movie.
yeah,
And like, yeah, I actually watched it last weekend too. But not for the first time,
right.
for perhaps the 400th. But it's yeah, that one's a not a good movie, but the
I
vibes
didn't expect
are
there to be quite so much necromancy in that
there's a
movie,
lot of
but
necromancy, there's a lot of, like it was of an era when women could just kill their shitty husbands, and that was, like, socially acceptable,
yeah,
like, the
Aiden Quinn
era
kind
of
of doesn't care. Like,
yeah, no, like
he just wants
yeah,
her to
he,
be
like
honest with him. Honestly, like, it's kind of all it
well,
is.
technically, not to get into dorky territory, but technically, he's also really only there because of the spell put on him, so he's not, like, even
This is
really
a
the
good point.
yeah, he's not even technically really like, you could he is a cop and he is whatever, but, like, he even
He's
says at one
way out
point,
of his
"I don't know why I'm"
jurisdiction.
and he says at one point, like, "I don't know why I'm here." Like, yeah, I think the implication is that he's not even really solving the the crime so much, but still, yeah, he doesn't give a shit, and, it also that was just, like, the era of, like, Goodbye Earl being on the radio, It's like,
Uh-huh.
we could just kill the bad guys and no one cared, bring it back, but, yeah, I love that movie. It's a good one.
um Yeah, but I also like this and I had seen it before, but earlier in October watched Phantoms because I had this
Mhm.
weird inkling to watch Phantoms, which is
Is
like
that
not ever
the Ben Affleck one?
yeah,
That one? Yeah, okay,
based on a
yeah,
Dean Koontz novel.
uh-huh, I have seen that, also probably
Affleck, of
around when it
course, is
came
the
out.
bomb in Phantoms. Yo, we all know that.
Yeah.
Um, it's not good at all, and it's like he
No.
looks so young, and he's
Yeah.
the sheriff of a town. No, he's not. He simply isn't.
Uh, yeah, that's he probably was young, he was probably, like,
Yeah,
25 or
he was like
something.
24 or something like that. I looked it
Yeah,
up. Like, he was way too young
yeah.
to be the sheriff of a town. Also, Peter O'Toole is in that movie for
Mm,
no I mean, like, he's the main character or one of the main characters, but, like, he is so much better than anyone else in that movie.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
It's like,
I have
why are
not
you in this?
I haven't seen that in a million years. There's a lot of those types of, like, horror movies from that era that were, like, or horror-ish, whatever, that are kinda lost to time even though they have big stars in them, right? Like,
Mhm.
I don't know. Even,
The
like, that
Relic,
was
that's another
The
movie that
Relic.
movie title that needs to go away, but
It does, it does. Great haunted house movie from the last few years was Relic. I also wrote about that one for Nerdist. That one
mhm,
scared me and has what I was talking about. There's literally the whole, like, end of that movie is they're lost in, like, the grandmother's house and, like, can't get out or, like, trapped in it. So, like, really preyed on some of my fears there. But,
mm.
yes, bad title, but The Relic actually weirdly, that the '90s one, a movie I remember, like, really well. Saw that. Mimic, that one too.
Sure.
I kinda confuse those in my head sometimes just because the names are similar
Relic is
enough.
the museum one and Mimic is the
Yes,
sewers one.
yes, and Mimic is Guillermo del Toro, right?
Correct. Yeah, it was like
Yes.
his second movie or something.
Yeah, yeah. Probably one of the ones he, like, disowns, but,
Yeah.
it had its moment. Um, yeah, I think, like, I don't know, something about that era, clearly because we were young, I'm sure, it, like, plays into it, but, uh, yeah, I don't know, what are some other, like, comforting horror movies for you?
Um, so many of them, which is really weird to like again, I was such a scaredy cat when I was a little kid, so like, kind of realizing how much I love them now. Uh, w weirdly recently, I've watched this movie a lot recently, and it's deeply upsetting as a movie,
Mhm.
uh, but I love Lake Mungo. Have you ever seen Lake Mungo?
I have seen Lake Mungo, the Australian one?
Yeah, and
Yeah, the,
I
like,
have
found footage.
yet to find a faux documentary that is that affecting. Like,
Yeah. Yes.
it's fake, like, I get that it's fake, but
Right.
everyone in it is playing it so real, and it just
Yeah.
feels so true, even though it
That one's
isn't.
really upsetting too, it's a
Yeah.
very upsetting one. Found footage is a or, like, found footage or faux documentary, like you were
Mhm.
saying, is also weirdly comforting. I watch Blair Witch Project every single that's one I have watched this October, I watch it every year. I don't know, like, there's something about that one that is, like, it just fall vibes, like, they're in the woods, and something about that is comforting to me. Um, but yeah, like, Ghost Watch, as you mentioned too, kind
Yeah.
of not found footage, but falls into that, like, you're evoking realness in a way that, like, other things in horror aren't. Like, you're trying to almost convince people that this is, like, happening. Um, and maybe there is something comforting in the fact that, like, we know it's not real, but it's so approximating things that we would see on TV or that we would watch in our downtime that there's something kind of, like, weirdly relieving about that.
Yeah. There it is very bizarre. It's, like, because I don't like true crime. Like,
Yeah.
I am not a true crime person, and yet faux documentary or found footage, I'm super in.
Yeah. That's
So I don't really know
interesting.
why that is.
Yeah, I
Um,
like both, but, true crime, I like ethical true crime, not the I like Dateline, that's what I think I
sure.
talk about Dateline
Did you
more than
watch that
anybody else on earth.
documentary that was on Netflix a few years ago? Actually, a long time ago now that I think about it, but like, um, about the oh shoot, the hotel in um downtown LA and
Yes,
the woman
the
who was
one
found.
that
Yeah,
yeah, the American Horror Story was based that one season of American
yeah.
Horror Story is kinda based the Cecil Hotel, right? Or I don't know if that's what's called in real
I
life,
can't
but,
remember what it's called.
I think it's the Cecil Hotel. In fact, I think that's, like, in the title. I did watch that. That one I remember not jiving with, but I don't
No, it
remember
sucks, and
why.
it really made me
Yeah,
angry. Like because
yeah. Oh, wasn't that one that, like, it got way more into, like, kooky theories and
yeah,
stuff than
it
it
spent
it
so much
was.
time talking about
Yeah,
the people who had theories and were trying to out here find it. And the filmmakers withheld the vital piece of information was that there was a witness who was like, "Oh yeah, I found her and she was just up
yeah,
there."
yeah, yeah.
Like,
It's there's a lot of that in true crime where they get more obsessed with, like, I don't know, like, cop cosplay than they do with, like, people just wanna be, like,
Yeah.
detectives versus, like, most of the time, especially with stuff like that, it's, like, mental illness, you know? It's, like
Mhm.
it's actually usually pretty sad and, like, the explanation is, worthy of talking about, but it doesn't get talked about. That's why I like stuff like Dateline because it's all victim forward and, like, I
Yeah.
care more about that than about valorizing both shitty killers and also conspiracy theorists. It's not
Yeah.
I have really, like, moral opposition to that, so, yeah,
And you can
but
never tell because there's so many of them now, so I'm always just like, I just
yeah,
avoid them in general.
that's fair.
Um,
I
yeah.
watch them all because 'cause I'm a glutton, but even as you were saying, did you see that Netflix documentary? I just wanted to say yes before you even answered because there's a
Yeah.
99% chance that
I
I
could
have
have
seen
said,
it.
"Have you seen that sunrise?" Do you remember that sunrise from some
Oh, yeah.
time in your life? Like, it's just like, "Okay, fine."
Yeah. Have you ever seen the sunset before?
Yeah.
Kinda crazy, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? Um, big comfort watch for me is really anything by George Romero, but specifically Dawn of the Dead. I find
Okay.
that there is
Yeah.
the setting is so like, once they get to the mall,
Mhm.
there is something so kind of, I won't say cathartic, but like OCD affirming of just like, we
Mhm.
gotta block we gotta block all the entrances, we gotta do this, we gotta do this, and there's just like a list of things they have to do in order to be
Yeah.
safe, and I find that really, really comforting.
There's something comforting about, like, a single location sort
Yeah,
of, like, movie or something. This is not, horror, and I guess maybe a side when are we opposed to a side tangent? But
right.
just, like, a side comparison, but it made that makes me think of, something else that I find deeply cozy is, Station 11, that show. Have you watched it? The
No, I haven't.
HBO show.
Yeah,
There's an episode kind of like a segment where that one's about kind of like a global pandemic and these people have to like quarantine at an airport and then they end up living at the airport for years because like it's the only kind of safe place that has that like where they can be with other people and there's something really comforting to me about that because they're like eating out of the like Auntie Anne's or whatever, you know what I mean? It's
mm,
like making a city out of this like smaller place and I don't know, that makes me think a little bit of what you're saying about the mall, like, having to rely on, like, things that would be normal, but in an abnormal circumstance
yeah, and there's
is there's
something
something
so, I guess, like, we all know, well, not nowadays, obviously, because malls
yeah,
are
yeah.
gone, but, like, there was something about growing up in mall culture, basically, and
Mhm.
then, uh, like, so you know what you're getting into at a mall. There's a food court, there's a million
Yeah,
stores and blah, 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 and then having that all to yourself, it's like a weird liminal space, but also, like,
yeah.
a liminal space where you know where everything is, like,
There's that episode of, Are You Afraid of the Dark that's set in a mall that's kind of like that too. Remember that one with,
The
I
Tale of
wanna
the
say
Pinball Wizard or the pin
the
yeah, something
pinball
like that.
wizard. Yeah, like the
Yeah.
pinball game comes alive, but in a mall, and, yeah, I remember that, like, them having to run to different levels, and yeah, it's kind of like
Yeah.
you have that mall familiarity. I wonder, like now I'm just thinking about, like, what would be the best way to, like, kill a villain in a mall? Like, where would you run to first? I feel like, there's probably certain stores with, like, sharp things or whatever,
Right.
but
Well, famously in Dawn of the Dead, there's a massive gun store.
yeah, yeah, yeah. That's I was trying to think like not that obvious, I'm
I
like,
don't
what could
remember if there was
you
a gun world or something like that in the Westminster, Colorado mall that I used to go to, but
probably not.
I
I
can't
don't think there was
remember.
I don't think there was a gun store at the mall in southeastern Michigan where I grew up. There's a lot of gun stores and a lot of
Yeah,
gun
totally.
shit, but like I don't remember there being one in the mall. But also the malls were kind of changing all the time, so like there would be
Yeah.
stores that would come in and out. So maybe at one point there
Which
was.
is weird because, like, the mall sort of just began because there was even that line in Dawn of the Dead where they're like, "What's that?" It's one of those new big indoor shopping malls or whatever.
Yeah,
Because it's
yeah.
like they'd never had one of those before, and that was only
Yeah.
'78, and we were
Yeah.
only born less than 10 years later, and so it's sort
Yeah,
of
yeah.
like, by the time we got around to us, everything was, like, super '80s, and it was
Familiar.
all just, like, JCPenney's and, like, Mervyn's and, like, all of those stores that don't exist. Well,
Right.
JCPenney still exists, but Mervyn's does not
Right.
exist anymore.
Does not, no. It's interesting that you bring up, like, a zombie, like Romero and zombies, because that is the one genre that's not comforting to me, like, at all. Like, the one kind of horror genre that's
Yeah.
not. I think maybe it's because that one feels too real in some like,
Mm,
almost too not like, obviously, there's not zombies, but zombies are always a little bit more topical, I'd say, than other, like, movie villains in the sense that, like, they kind of are shaped around, like, whatever our fear of mass something is in the moment, so be it a pandemic or nuclear war or whatever,
mhm.
there's just something about it that gives me and it's we're always running away from, like, hordes of things or I don't know, there's something about that that makes me too anxious to be,
Yeah, and
like, settled.
I don't find all zombie movies comforting by
Yeah, yeah.
far. It was just that one specifically because
That one,
it
yeah,
was,
yeah.
like, an early one. Because I don't find,
Mhm.
like, Night of the Living Dead comforting at all.
No, no, I
Um,
love that movie, but it
yeah,
does not comfort me.
no.
It's one I've only watched a few times because that's one stuff trying to, like, break into that place that you're at, that gives me
Oh,
too much
yeah,
anxiety to, like, be relaxed,
yeah.
so, yeah.
I was thinking like, because one of my favorite directors is John Carpenter, and I love most of his movies.
Yeah.
Um, but I don't know if I how many of those I would consider, like, actually comforting.
Yeah, no,
Like,
that's a good point. I think yeah, like, The Thing, kind of, like but that one's also there's, like, so
it's
much pressure
yeah.
cooking where it's like, yeah, there's, like, anxiety ratcheting up. I think the
Yeah, because it's
setting of
like,
that is comforting, but
is it
yeah.
comforting or have I just seen it a million times? Do you know what I mean? Like,
Exactly, exactly.
where
I
there's
think,
comfort in knowing the thing that you're watching.
yeah, I like one of my favorite of his that I'm sure we've talked about is In the Mouth of Madness, like,
Totally. Not a
one of my
comforting movie
favorite.
at all. Like, it's
Not at
incredible.
all. It's like and it's got a lot of the things that like the little hotel that they say there's, like, stuff that could be cozy, the small town and, like, the whatever, but because of the circumstance and the
Mhm.
fact that it's, like, kind of his brain turning against him, it's like there's not that one makes me too, like,
Yeah.
to be settled into it, really. Great movie, though. If you haven't
Yeah,
seen it,
totally.
people watch that one. A little underrated, I would say.
Yeah. It's, uh all of the I'm excited that you're gonna watch Lost Hearts because that's during the spate of Ghost Story for Christmas that they made for the BBC, and I think they're all really interesting.
Yeah,
Um, but that is, like, at a certain point 'cause, okay, I'm sure I've said it on the show before, I'm gonna say it again. I don't like Christmas. I've gotten to the point where I just
yeah.
don't like it. I think it's needlessly cheerful. It's just like, just
Mhm.
can't we indulge in being kind of melancholy? Like, I'm always sad at the end of the year. I'm never just like, "Yay!" Like,
I
whatever.
know. I feel similarly. I don't really like any holidays except for Halloween, and even Halloween, like, I don't even really care about anymore other than, like, as an excuse to watch
Yes.
horror movies. It's interesting because
I
like, I
like the
used to
fall vibes, and I
I
like yeah,
same.
yeah,
And I like I have Halloween decorations up, like, I like the
yeah.
whatever, but, like, I used to get so into, like, the costumes and the I must do this and the parties, and now I'm like, I don't wanna do fucking any of that, like,
No, no, no.
I wanna stay
I
in my
hate any
warm home.
holiday or any day that you are expected to do something social. It's like, what if I don't want to do that?
That's why I hate the big, like, family gathering ones because like, that just stresses me out too much
Yeah,
to think it's fun. So, yeah, I
yeah,
that's why we like horror movies because we
yeah.
don't like
But
that
what I was
shit.
gonna say is that because of that, I have started to read like not like gory or anything like that, but very like chilly, spooky stories
Yeah.
around the Christmas season
Okay. Yeah,
because
yeah.
like it's
I
chilly and
like that.
wintry and stuff like that. And it's like, let me take what I like out of the season, which is
Yeah.
scary stuff. But
That's how
all
I
of those
feel
M.R. James adaptations fill into that, and that's why I love watching the Ghost Stories for Christmas because they're all, they're 16 millimeter film, and they just they're so
yeah,
great,
I love
grainy.
that. I have like, I do that with books definitely around this time of year too. Basically, like, October through November, I read a lot of books that are creepy, not necessarily horror,
Yeah.
that have, like, winteryness to them or fallness to them. Like,
Hmm.
I every year I reread The Secret History around this time. Have you ever read The Secret
No, I've
History?
never read that.
Okay, you should. Mostly just so I can selfishly have someone new to
So
talk about it
yeah.
with. But it's not horror necessarily, but there's, like, a spooky kinda, like, Greek, like, mythology. I don't there's it's great, and there's, like, some really fucked up stuff in it, but
Mm,
that's one that, like, is comforting to me around this time of year just because it starts in the fall and, like, kind of the big thing that happens in it is in the winter time, and there's just a lot of like description
Mm,
of that. So, or not the winter, whatever. It kind of covers seasons because it takes place during a school year. But yeah, I don't know. I get that.
yeah. Um, and to me, like there's a difference now between what I watch and read during Halloween season and what I watch and read during the Christmas season. And so like a
Hmm.
lot of ghost movies kind of have gotten shuffled over to
Christmas time,
Christmas, but not like weirdly enough, not like Hell House, Legend of Hell
right?
House is like, no, that's Halloween for sure. And it's
Right.
just a weird, like, I know it when I see it kind of thing.
Yeah, I know
Um,
what you mean.
but like, you know,
The
uh,
Shining is a big like, I always watch that at, like, Christmas time because
yeah.
that's winter and, that one doesn't feel particularly Halloweeny to me,
Mhm.
like,
No.
The Shining is just a winter movie to me. It's a big winter in Chicago movie to me because it's about being trapped in your house while there's a fuck ton of snow outside, so,
Yeah.
I that's a particular, like, Midwest, or I'm sure anywhere where it snows a lot, but for me, I watch that a lot when I'm snowed in, more
Right.
so than when it's appropriately, like, spooky season or whatever.
This is perhaps controversial, but like I definitely two of the movies I avoided for the longest were The Shining and The Exorcist, and I definitely think
Mm.
that The Shining is scarier than The Exorcist.
I Those are 2 of the movies that scare me the most, which The Exorcist almost feels like a basic bitch answer to, like, what scares you the most, but that one scares me because it's not the cath I think I know we've talked about this before. It's not the, like, Catholicism, it's not the, like, any of that. For me, I one of my, like, fear triggers is, like, scary faces, like, I don't
Oh, sure.
it goes into that uncanny valley thing for me, and so I have a hard time with that one because I think she looks scary, and I think the demon face that's flashes throughout the movie, it makes me so uncomfortable and, like, I hate it. Yeah,
Mhm.
so I was a big like, I was afraid of clowns as a kid, like, that was my number one
Mm,
fear, and I do think that plays into, like, a human face that isn't quite right, the same as, like, a house that isn't quite right, it
right.
scares me. And then The Shining, yeah, the house isn't quite right in that one, there's, like, things appearing that shouldn't be there, and,
Yeah. Well, that was something that I asked. I'm sure you did too, actually, but because you went to the set visit for Doctor Sleep. But I interviewed
yeah,
Mike Flanagan at the premiere, which was in
right,
Estes Park, Colorado, um,
excellent.
right before the pandemic.
Yeah, 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 I remember
um,
that, yeah.
but I was like, you lovingly rebuilt a house that makes no sense,
Yeah,
like famously makes no sense. And
yeah.
he was just like kind of reveling in how weird that house is and stuff like that. And I think the book The Shining is great, but
It's great, yeah,
I
yeah.
also love the movie The Shining, and I
It's a
know
great
they're not
adap
the same.
Yeah, it's what we were talking about where it's like this the spirit of the
Right.
thing is there, but also it's taking liberties in a way that it's not trying to be the book really, and that's
No.
what
No, no,
I
no.
like about it. When I did the set visit of Doctor Sleep, we got to walk through the whole they reconstructed the whole it was literally like, I don't mean to brag about it, but it was, like, the craziest. As a
Yeah.
film fan and as a big fan of that movie, it felt like stepping into like something out of your psyche, which made it scary actually. I was kind of creeped out because you like are turning the corner and there's room 237 or like
Yeah.
whatever. But you could see very distinctly, which is the fact that, I know there's like the impossible like window in that movie or whatever in the office, or like there's all sorts of things that shouldn't be there. But it's interesting when you're on set, you can see that there's like the one thing is that it's actually the hallway with room 237, that's on the left hand side, but on the right hand side, it's other, rooms that are supposed to be there. But when you walk down that hall, there's doors, but then on the other side of them is the big room, like the big the Colorado room or whatever. So like those
Mhm.
doors would lead to nothing, and you can see it very distinctly when you're like on that set. So that was really kind of eerie too. To
Yeah.
I don't know, just actually see like, ooh, this does feel. I bet filming that movie, you can kind of tell why everyone went a little cuckoo, maybe because it's like the set alone is really disorienting. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Oh, man. I wish I could have.
sometimes our job is like the stuff we've done is really cool. Like every once in a while, I have to
Yeah.
remind myself, like you got to interview Mike Flanagan at the hotel based on The Shining. Like that's pretty fucking
In front
cool.
of the fireplace, like,
Yeah,
because he was
that's
outside for a long time and he came in to interview in like, it wasn't the Colorado
so
room, but it
cool.
may as well be.
Yeah,
And there
like
was a fire
what
burning because it
influenced
was
it?
freezing cold. And I was like, they had it set up somewhere else, and then he was, like, visibly shivering. I'm like, "Do you wanna move by the fire?" And he was like, "Yeah." And I was like, "Okay, let's do it." And so we
That's
sat by the
that's
fireplace. It was great.
that's so cool.
What a
Yeah.
delight.
I interviewed Ewan McGregor in room 237. That was one of the most
Oh, come on.
out of body
I
experiences
cannot.
I've ever had. That was
Well, I
cool because they didn't tell us they didn't tell us that, like, because remember in the book Doctor Sleep, it's a follow up of the
mhm,
book, The Shining, where the hotel burns down. So when we went to the set visit, we didn't know. We were like, is this going to be a sequel of the movie or of the book? Like, so we didn't even know that they had like reconstructed the hotel. They just surprised us with that. They like took us onto the set and suddenly we were like in the overlook. So it was like pretty cool.
that's incredible.
Um yeah, it was cool. Yeah, I saw grown men cry, grown like horror men cry like from like the big magazines and stuff because they were so overwhelmed. So
That
that
was
was
pretty
cool.
similar. Like I got to go to the set visit of Halloween 2018, and that was
Oh yeah,
another big
yeah.
like, and they were like,
Oh, I'm
"Here's the
sure.
mask," and it's like,
That's
"It's the
crazy.
one for the movie."
Yeah.
And we got to
It's
watch a
cool.
scene of Michael Myers like stalking and killing somebody, and it was just like, "This is great.
Oh, that's so cool. My
What a
one
world."
complaint about set visits I've done is that I've never been on hand. We've never been there for like a really cool scene getting filmed. I've
Totally.
always been there when they're filming like some weird pickup shot or
Yeah,
something.
it's
But
almost always
yeah,
pickup shots.
I think they do that on purpose, right? They're like, we're not going to
Yeah,
show you like a really cool scene, but getting
yeah.
to see Michael Myers, that's pretty fucking cool.
And it wasn't even like a particularly like big scene. What like
Yeah.
Jamie Lee Curtis put on her wig to come and talk
Uh
to us
huh.
just so she that because she wasn't filming that day, but she was like, I
Yeah.
want everyone to know what Laurie
I
looks like now.
that's the other thing I love about horror movies is that like everyone's so fucking like game. Like it's a like a for as much as and this plays into I think some of the coziness element is that like anytime I've talked to a horror director or been on a set like that or whatever, everyone's having so much fun. Like it's like those are like the most joyful kind of
Oh yeah.
like I've even been on like big fantasy sets or whatever where like people seem kind of miserable, but like in the horror stuff, everyone's having so much fun. Like when we did the set visit of Doctor Sleep, Flanagan was technically filming a scene in like a different warehouse, and he ran over because he was like, "I want to watch you guys like walk." Like he paused his like production day because he was just a big horror dork and he wanted to like enjoy that experience with other horror dorks, and that's a really common thing I've felt in
Yeah.
horror stuff is like there's a real love and reverence like in there. Even like the horror community, like most horror folks I know are just like super nice and yeah, it's a
Yeah.
weirdly like safe space I think for weirdos like us, I guess, but
Yeah.
that contributes to it.
Yeah. Those some of the most fun. And you go to like a horror film festival, like they're just,
Yeah,
it's gotten a bit
exactly.
corporate here in my opinion, but like Beyond Fest was always like super fun
Yeah,
to go to because it was just like weird people enjoying
yeah.
a marathon of Tom Atkins movies. Like, yes, of course.
Exactly.
Like,
Fantastic Fest that I used to go to is like that. That one's like a weirdly cozy. I mean, it's also deranged because everyone's like drunk and insane, but
yeah, of
like
course.
it's also weirdly cozy because it's all in like the same location and there's
Hmm.
just like the horror directors just want to hang out with like the people and it's very like not no one's like trying to get pictures and being crazy, you know what I mean? It's just like pretty like chill and
Yeah.
that's like Ari Aster was just like he went to Fantastic Fest one year just to hang out. He didn't have a movie playing. He was like I just like the vibes and he was just there the whole week. It's like that's kind of how horror people are. They
Hmm.
just like to they like the genre, they like the people and yeah, that I always felt more at home in some of those events than
Hmm.
any of the other ones, because I knew it would be a good time,
Yeah.
and I feel that way with horror movies too. I'm
Hmm.
like, even the shitty ones, I'm not as mad when I watch a horror movie that sucks as I am like a drama or
No,
something, you know? Yeah,
it unless it's boring. That's my big like
yeah,
a boring horror movie is as bad when it's not quite as bad, but it's up there along with an unfunny comedy. Unfunny
yes,
comedy is death. Like it makes me
yeah,
sick to my stomach to watch an unfunny
it's
comedy.
really bad.
But
Well,
a
I
boring horror
find
movie is like,
yeah, no, you're right. I find most comedies unfunny because I don't think this is my insane feelings towards the comedy genre, but people trying to be funny is
Mm,
not funny to me. Like,
mm,
it's hard to explain. Like, I can't even watch like stand up. I find it cringy, and it's like, it's no disrespect. Like, I know people work hard, and it's not me saying that that stuff is just inherently bad. There's just something in me that like I have to like I connect more with like super weird comedy because it's just like avant-garde
sure.
enough. When it's just like a man, I don't know. I don't think most men are funny, so I don't really like, the comedy genre. Not for me. So maybe I also it's just from living in Chicago where the comedy, like, if you've lived
Everyone's in your
here
face about it.
and if you've lived here, you've like dated some horrible wannabe comedian at some point in your life, and it does spoil
Mm.
the vibe. So yeah, that's my anti-comedy rant.
Well, that'll be a different podcast. We can talk about why comedy
I
isn't
know.
good.
I do think though, like like I do think I have a good sense of humor. I just don't.
Sure.
You know what I mean? It's more the
Yeah.
like artifice of
There is
comedy
something
doesn't
like
work.
I don't like watching comedy movies. I've said this before.
Yeah.
Like I love comedy. I enjoy
Yeah.
laughter, and
Uh-huh.
like I listen to podcasts of people being funny, but it's like it's just
Yeah,
off
yeah,
the
yeah.
cuff stuff. I can
Exactly.
I
That's what I
can
mean.
I can fuck with stand up, but depends on who the stand up is.
Yeah.
Um, but
I like
like
improv. Like I've gone to a lot of improv shows and I
yeah,
like that because it's not people trying to be funny in the same way of like I've
right.
rehearsed this bit. It's more like spontaneous
Yeah,
and
it's
I
like
find yeah,
it's watching
weird. I
people
find
be
human
fast, you know.
yeah, and there's like a peculiarity in it. I find like
Mhm.
weirdness and just like the dumb shit people come up with out of nowhere. Like that's funny to me, not like I'm gonna stand here and make jokes about my wife or whatever, I don't know. It doesn't land for me.
Take my wife,
Um,
please.
yeah,
No one's
yeah.
ever said that before. Um,
Uh,
well, Lindsay, we could go on forever.
yeah.
But so we're gonna. Okay, no, I'm just kidding.
It's
Um,
reaching dinner time
I
over
know,
here,
I know.
unfortunately. So,
Um,
yeah,
well, thank you again for coming on to talk about. I think we've really hit. I think we've really solved something today.
I think so
It,
too.
at the very least, I think we've given people recommendations,
Titles,
titles. Absolutely, we've said a lot of titles,
a lot of titles, even some bad titles because we
even
don't
some
like
bad titles.
bad titles. But yeah.
You can find out more about the stuff that we like to watch for Halloween season or just in general by going to our letterboxes. Lindsay, what's your letterbox?
hmm
People can follow you.
Mine is just my name, Lindsey Romain,
And it's like the lettuce, but without the E at the end.
without the E. But and then the E is in my first name because
Right.
I spell it
Right.
with an
It's
E,
not
not an A.
Lindsay, it's
No.
Lindsay.
So
The
the
way
E
it's
from the
pronounced.
end of the lettuce came in and took out the A. So,
If hopefully you'll remember that.
yeah,
Um,
that's a really odd way of and complicated
mhm.
way of describing that, but that's what we
But
do.
I don't think we should workshop that at all. I think that's what we should
No.
always say.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
can follow me on Letterboxd at Kyle_Anderson. Now, usually I don't tee up what the next episode is going to be, but because next week will be the last week of literally October 30th, the day before
Mhm.
Halloween, I do want to say that we have one more scary, horror-y thing that we're going to talk about, and it is going to be about the Universal Monsters original movies. Joining me will be Eric Diaz, who's been on a bunch, and Mikey Walsh, who's been on a bunch. Mikey has never watched any of the Universal Monsters, and so he is going to
Really?
watch the big eight, I guess you'd say, like
Okay.
Dracula, Frankenstein, Bride of Frankenstein, The Mummy, Wolfman, Invisible Man, Creature from the Black Lagoon. So we're going to
Right,
watch
right.
those. We're going to talk about those. Eric and I are huge fans, and Mikey
Yeah.
has never watched them. So I'm very excited. We haven't recorded that yet. I'm excited to know what he thinks as somebody
I
who
was
has
gonna
never
say,
watched these things that are so
Mikey does
ingrained
that
in pop culture.
and he tends to do that where he'll like something he has no knowledge of whatsoever, he'll just dive in and
Yeah,
his opinions can be very funny. So
yeah.
I will be listening to
Very much
that
looking
one.
forward to that. So yeah,
Yeah,
that'll be
yeah.
next week. Lindsay, again, thank you so much for coming on. As
Yeah.
always, I'm sure you'll be on again soon because you're my friend and I enjoy
Anytime.
talking to you. So
I enjoy talking to you too. Anytime. I'm sure once again we'll be like, we talked about this last time,
I'm
but
sure we did. And honestly, we've known each other for such a long time that we maybe didn't talk about it last time or
I
ever,
know.
but
Yeah.
it seems like we
We're
have.
just like, but that seems like something we would have
Yeah.
talked about.
Thank you all for listening to Laser Focus. I've been Kyle Anderson. Join me again next week when my guest will be those people. Goodbye. Laser Focus is a production of Nerdist Industries and Legendary Digital Networks. It was produced, edited, and hosted by me, Kyle Anderson. For more, visit Nerdist.com.